that happened, and I don't know how I fixed it.
Don't ask any questions. You never know. Don't jinx it.
Could you hear me when I was complaining and moaning?
No, you've just literally just popped up on the screen now.
Oh, okay.
So all the slagging off you did, I didn't hear any of it. It's all right.
I was slagging my computer off.
All
That's
right,
what I
I'll
was
be like, oh God, what's this tit want me to do this now for? How was your day? Moving all stuff in, were you?
Well, as I said, like there was my business partner was coming in anyway because we were getting some stuff moved in. And so when we lost power, she was like, why don't you just come with me because we've got power at the store. So I came to the store, and then all of a sudden they showed up with like, God knows how many things that we didn't expect to get. So all of a sudden we just moved. It looks like a bomb's hit it in here. I'm like, okay, we've got to get a spot with a decent looking back.
That's all good.
You go that way and you've got the back of something.
Oh, nice. You boxed in. Oh my God. Well, at least it's not tat. At least it's worth selling if you've got it in.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, thank you for this. I appreciate it. I know it's been this whole, every text you send me, this island living text. It just, I'm dying to know all about it. When you keep saying, oh, you know what, the power's gone, island living. Oh, you know, the Wi-Fi's knackered, island living. I'm just like,
I've been walking around. I was under the house before turning the generator on, and I'm shouting to myself, fucking Whopper. Whopper is the name of the electrical company. I'm like, fucking Whopper.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's called, is it?
Yeah. It's WAPA, but it's pronounced Whopper.
It's very apt, isn't it? I call people Whoppers all the time over here. I thought you were just shouting at the machine.
No, that's the name of it.
That's class. That's class. Welcome to the Crossing the Pond podcast, hosted by me, Gary Adair, where each week our guests will recount their own experiences of resilience and transformation, whether it's moving to a new country, tackling health challenges, changing careers, or breaking through personal barriers. Today we're joined by Diane Ormrod, who first came to the US from Liverpool back in 1981. After spending decades working in and around Manhattan, she followed her passion for design and co-founded French and Scouser in 2012, a home decor and antique furnishings business with a unique transatlantic flair. After several relocations, Diane now brings her creative vision to life from the beautiful island of St. Thomas in the US Virgin Islands. When did you first move?
I moved here in 1981.
1981. God, I was born in 1980. Sorry.
I was 17 then.
It's not too bad. Not too bad. So at 17, what's it like at home? Because you're from Halewood as well.
Yeah.
So what's it like at home at 17 for you? Were you any good in school? Were you bothered about school? Were you out and about? Like, what was going on in Liverpool as well at that time?
Well, I hated school. I couldn't stand it. I couldn't wait to get out. And I left school when I was 15. And yeah, it was just one of these, I just never felt comfortable in school. I was picked on, I was bullied, it was just all that. And I couldn't wait to leave. So yeah, when I left school, I went and I actually got a job at Speak Airport. And I went to work there, and I worked there for like a year. And then I I couldn't come back to America because my mum had moved to America in 1978 and I was coming back and forth. But I had a job then. And then my mum was like, well, if you're going to come to America, you're going to start paying for yourself now. And so I kind of said, all right, well, and she said, I'll pay for it if you decide to move. And so I said, okay, I'll move. And then I thought I'll just give it a few months and then I'll go back and, go back to my boyfriend and my life. And because, I was just thinking I was going to get married and live in Liverpool. I was, Robbie, my boyfriend, my first love. And then, I ended up staying in America and loving it.
What were you doing at Speak Airport? As a pure geek, I love planes and that. So I'm always asking about what were you doing in Speak?
Well, I'm a geek too. I love planes. And I used to always walk across the field in Halewood and, I would like watch the planes. I'd always watch the planes. I'd go and sit at the top of have you been to Speak Airport? Did you go to Speak Airport years ago? You could sit on the top.
At the bottom.
And I used to sit there and look at them and go, God, I can't wait. Where are they going to? I wish I was going with them. And so, yeah, then I got a job there and I was psyched. I was right on the runway. And I actually worked for a place called Johnson's Air Freight. And I was like a secretary, like just kind of, but I just worked there. And it was the year that Liverpool won, I think it was the European Cup, I think. Was it the European Cup?
77
It
or
was
78?
78.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
did, yeah.
They won some cup anyway, because they had a big, massive silver cup that they brought and so we all had we were all privy to it. We all went on the runway and they all got off the plane. And I've got pictures of me holding the plane up and stuff. I mean, not the plane, the cup up, we met them all, Kenny Dalglish and all that. So it was really cool.
That's brilliant. You have to send me that photo if you can find it.
I've got to find it, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be good. So, all right, so you make the move. Poor Robbie gets left behind.
Yeah.
And you do come over because, what was the biggest, I know your mum's here, but what was one of the other reasons that you came? Was there a bigger draw? Obviously, mother's a big draw, but was there another draw to it coming over here?
Yeah. I think it was just I loved coming to America. I love New York. I've always wanted to go to New York.
Yeah.
So, already, I mean, I've been coming since 1978 when I was 14. And I was, we just always go into the village. We loved the whole music scene, me and my mum. So we would go to the different bars and, and sit and listen to music and go into Washington Square Park. And so I just really loved coming there, it was a totally different life from me than, Liverpool.
Yeah.
So that was what really, but it was mainly my mum, my mum just wanted me to come over.
What brought her over? Why was she here?
Well, my mum came over in the 60s just to go. She got a job as a housekeeper and nanny. And then she had to come back because my granddad died. And then she kept in touch with the family that she'd worked with, and they became like family to us. And so, she always kept in touch. And then in 1978, she decided to go back because it was kind of depressed in Liverpool then. Couldn't get a job except in a factory. And she just didn't want to be there. So she moved to America. I remember she had £100 in a purse when she went, one suitcase. And I remember everything about that day. I remember what she wore. I remember a suitcase. I've still got a suitcase, actually. I keep it in my bedroom in Jersey City. And so she came over and just got a job. And, and then she just went and kind of hung around with she stayed with those people. They were family still, and so yeah, she just decided to stayed in Jersey City. My mum went to Woodstock in 1969. So my mum was a total hippie. She was, big into just doing everything American, really.
And that's pretty much why she came back in 78. It's funny, 78 was pretty much about the time I think my mum and dad moved out of Liverpool to Wigan. I think it was the same thing. I think everyone was like, it was miserable.
It was terrible then, it was just miserable, yeah. So my mum just loved America, she went to Woodstock, she was a hippie. She just, had this whole vision of America. And so she came back and decided to live here. And then I just started coming over and visiting.
Was there any surprises for you when you first got there? I know you've been going a little bit backwards and forwards. Were there any surprises, pleasant or unpleasant, when you got over there? And you were basically there full time from then?
Yeah, my surprise was really about how nice and welcoming Americans were and how you could really be anything you wanted to be and do anything you wanted to do and look however you wanted to look. It was just so free. It was like in Liverpool, you had to wear a certain shoe or jeans or, otherwise you were considered whatever, you had to conform. And I never really did conform, and it wasn't really a choice. It was more I couldn't afford to conform. I couldn't afford a pair of kickers or whatever else, So coming to America and just kind of being who I was, it was lovely,
Yeah, that is. I find that as well. And do you think as well, especially, I know you spoke about it a little bit about getting picked on in school and that. Did you just feel like you could reinvent yourself a little bit, or not even reinvent yourself, maybe just be yourself?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It was a little bit of both for sure. I could reinvent myself. I couldn't, I could just be Diane. And in England, it was always I suppose the class system did affect all of us, and I was from Liverpool, I mean, that was how I was judged. I was from Liverpool. And for me, I was proud to be from Liverpool. But you couldn't really do much if you were from Liverpool at that point in your life, in time. And to come to America and all of a sudden, because you were from Liverpool, they thought you were great. And they
Yeah.
thought that you were really smart too. I love that.
Yeah, I've conned many a person on that one as well. Did you find it easy to assimilate and get up and running with the culture and the goings on? Like, did you bump into any more Scousers over here, or did you find friends here, or to be able to get you up and running?
They were mainly American.
Right.
The only Scousers I knew were my mum and her like best friend who were over here.
Right.
But like, that was the reason why I stayed, really. It was like, I mean, I was starting to get a little bit fed up and a bit lonely in the beginning. But like, all of a sudden I started meeting people and then going out and, just having fun. And I made this like whole group of friends. And that was when I really decided to stay. And they're still my friends now,
Right.
all these years later.
Yeah. Can you talk me through how your career kind of materialized as you've gone? Like, obviously you've met all these American friends. Did they help you along the way, or did that sort of get you into what you ended up doing at first?
No, not really. I mean, I suppose there was one job that a friend got me into, just because it was interior design and she was an interior designer. But no, I mean, I just did what I needed to do. Initially, I was illegal. So, like I came into the country on a plane and I just stayed.
Yeah.
And then when I did get my green card, I worked for another freight forwarder, and then I kind of just went from job to job, I mean, it was like, I thought initially that I was going to go and be in it. Well, I thought I was going to be a makeup artist, and I went to school for that, so like everyone jokes about me being a beauty school dropout. But then I got a job with an interior designer, and then I got a job with Murdoch magazines, Rupert Murdoch.
Okay.
And I went to go and work to him, much to my uncle's chagrin. My uncle Alan in Billinge, he worked for a printer, and he was like, "You're not working for that bugger, are you?" But I mean, it was the beginning of everything for me. It changed everything going to work there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to. I'm being nosy as well. I'm not trying to embarrass you or anything, but you've worked with some relatively famous names, right, along the way. And
yeah,
how did some of them come about? If you can throw any examples, I'm not asking you to. I mean, obviously, I'm asking you to name drop, but at the same time, like, how does stuff like that come about for you?
just through work, I mean, like it was obviously through work because I was working with them. But I mean, I worked on photo shoots. I worked for, I did that cookbook with Serena Bass, who was like a celebrity caterer.
Yeah.
And because of that, initially I was going in just to help with a book. But then I started like helping out with the events just because it meant that I get to meet everybody, So like I went to like Stanley Tucci's apartment on the closing of like, the wrap party for Made in Manhattan. And we did a private dinner with like Ray Fiennes and J-Lo. And we were just there. I was there overseeing it. I didn't do anything except kind of just make sure that, everything, I looked pretty. I just didn't really do anything. And yeah, so I mean, I just got to meet like some really cool people through that.
Like, what's the biggest sort of learning moment there then when you're in those positions? Like you say, you're just throwing yourself into it just to be around these people. Like, did you learn anything that you then took into your job? Just maybe how people act, how people at that level of sort of the industry or artistry or whatever it is. Did you pick up any pointers from that? Because I'm presuming you're still relatively new to it.
Well, I mean, when I was working with them, I'd been in magazines for years, like
Right.
I'd worked for New York Magazine and Glamour. And so I'd worked with a lot of pretty high profile people at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And so one thing I knew was I never wanted them to be different than me. I never wanted us to feel different. So I always just treated them the way I'd treat anyone. And so, that meant like, because people would say, "Oh, did you get your picture taken with them? Or did you get an autograph?" And I'm like, I would never do that, and so it kind of just kept us all on the same playing field. You know what I mean? But what was just nice was, kind of learning from them. I feel like I've learned a lot and it's helped me every step of the way. I feel like these people they're kind of like unicorns, like they are different. They are amazingly talented, like working with Serena. She owned Serena, the bar in the Chelsea Hotel. And it was like this fabulous bar with all the stars going, and it was just an amazing place. And but everything she did was so high level, like I could never mess up, So, I mean, of course, initially I was a bit intimidated because it was like, a very celebrity driven place. And also working with her. I mean, she was intimidating because she was very fabulous, And but what I learned with her was that she paid attention to every detail. And it taught me to do that. It taught me to set a table in a certain way. You never do anything halfway. You do everything beautifully. And it's probably to my detriment. Sometimes I drive people crazy, but it's always been, I pay attention to the details and make things look beautiful and go that extra step and do things in a different way. And that's what I've learned from, working around people like that.
Yeah. Is that something that you just took ahead into, has that brought around the next role and the next job or the next little piece of whatever you've been able to do just by paying that much attention to detail?
Yeah. I mean, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing now. That's why I have the boutique hotel in the Catskills. I mean, it was like, things I'd never, ever been trained to do, but I just learned how to do them and to kind of always look at them. I don't know, just always have a different eye, look at them. And if you think it's good, do that extra special thing on top of it. Never just go for good. It's got to be fabulous,
So at what point, and this is kind of the question that I was alluding to at the beginning there. So what point do you start getting your sort of head turned by the Catskills?
Well, at that point, I mean, I'd been living in New York forever. And I wanted to buy, I was living in Jersey City forever. And I wanted to buy something. I actually wanted to buy in Manhattan. But, I'd been going up to the Catskills for years, renting places and skiing every winter season. And I just thought, you know what, I can't afford anything in Manhattan. So I'm going to stay in Jersey City, keep my rental. And I love historic homes. So I bought an old farmhouse. And it was only meant to be a country house. It was just me getting away from the city and my job. And then, it became harder and harder to leave, and then, then when, my friend Dorothée, who I'm now, she's like my sister basically. And
Right.
she had been friends for years, and she lost her job. And, we kind of gravitated to let's do something up there and start a business. So the business actually was in Williamsburg initially. And we did start in Williamsburg, but we were sourcing everything in the Catskills, and so we were spending more and more time up there. So that was kind of how both of us ended up moving there.
What's it like up there then? What does that do for you? Because city living is hectic, but it's fun. And there's a lot going on. There's always something going on. Like you said, even there early on, you talk about you and your ma going into the village for music events and going out for drinks and coffee or whatever it is, right? What is it about these places that are in the country? What is it about going up there? What was the charm? Why was it so difficult to leave?
I mean, first of all, to give you a little bit of background, is I used to always go and rent places in the Hamptons, through the 90s.
Right.
And I always felt like a bit of a fish out of water there. I didn't really feel like they were my people. And then when I go up to the Catskills, I just felt like everyone was creative and lovely. And, not to say that the people in the Hamptons weren't lovely. It was just that they didn't feel like my people. And so when I go up there, I just met really interesting people, artists, writers, musicians. And that's the kind of people I love to be around. And also just having a place to garden and, just, it was harder and harder to leave, I loved my house. It kind of created a little story. I found out who built it, and, I'd go to his grave and put flowers on his grave and tell him I was looking after his house and, all this. And this was like a revolutionary soldier. I'm very romantic that way. So yeah, it was just one of these, it was like, I don't want to go back to Jersey City, And so I started working from upstate on Fridays and Mondays and, just kind of, and then in the end, I ended up just staying, quit my job.
Right. So this is the main question. What's it like to be someone, and the plot thickens because now you're living in the US Virgin Islands, but we'll get to that down the line in a second. But what's it like to be someone who's took another step away from the familiar? You know, like how I always think, my wife and I always think that maybe this isn't the last move we make. But then you think you're so invested in this adult life, in the area that you're in, with the friends that you've got and the property that you've got, or whatever it is. What would you say to me if you were talking to me or anybody else who's in a similar spot? Or what did you tell yourself at the time, like when you finally decided to move up there?
Well, I suppose what I kind of, I always used to stay with, I had steady jobs. I had I had a 401k, I had a pension, I had everything. And I was successful in that career. And so I kind of felt like that was the thing I should do because it was safe. But I never really felt like I was someone who played it safe anyway. And I think what I would say is just because you've always done something doesn't mean you always have to do that. You can apply what you know to other things. Like for me, like I was a production director and creative director. And that's basically like a producer is someone who just organizes stuff, who figures things out. And so I just kind of took a leap. I come from a pretty entrepreneurial family on my dad's side anyway. So I think maybe it's in the genes, but it was really exciting to just move forward. And, I've done a few things now, I had the hotel. I had, French and Scouser has been around since 2012. And then it kind of morphed into the hotel. Every step I took, I was a bit nervous, but I always felt like, well, you know what, even if it fails, I'm always going to get up and do it again. There's nothing really to be afraid of. And I suppose it helps me because I don't have kids, so I don't really have any big responsibility. But I think, yeah, it was more just about I didn't really have much to fear.
No, it's good. Listen, I'm all about this because we don't have kids either. So I'm like, yeah, good. We'll listen to this in a couple of weeks and Kelly will be like, right, we're off. That's it. We're going. I'll be moving next door to you.
Yeah, you can. Listen, just ask me and I'll get you down here.
What you mentioned then about your new venture, French and Scouser, and it's with your longtime friend Dorothy.
Yeah.
How did that come to life? Was it simply just because she lost the job, you were living up there now? And what gap did you feel that it filled in the interior design world?
Well, I suppose what gap did it fill? I mean, first of all, we didn't go in and become interior designers. we're not interior designers. We decorate and we know how to make things look nice. But I think so first of all, Dorothy left her job and we both, kind of had been going to auctions and we loved going and buying stuff. But when she left her job, it was just you know what, we don't want to work in a corporate environment anymore. There's no loyalty. We can slog and work and then they'll still let us go at the end of the day. So we just decided to try something new. And it was just, it was funny because maybe going off topic slightly, but one of the things that were great was I had a convertible at the time. It was my friend Mark Couch's convertible that I bought from him. And we were upstate. We both decided we were going to start French and Scouser. And we were going to an auction really far upstate. And it was a gorgeous spring day. And we're in the convertible. And we just looked at each other and we were like, guess what? This is our job. And it was great because it was you know what? We used to sit in an office and we had to go to the office every day. And now we're just chasing furniture and gorgeous things. And so, it was lovely. And we've just, I think what we feel like we filled is, I suppose, I guess what we always feel like we want to find things that we both love. People ask us what's your style? What's your design style? And we're we don't really have a design style. We just buy things that we love. And essentially we buy things that we don't want to let go of, and we want to give them to people that really care about them,
Is it one of them as well? If I want it, then somebody else must want it as well. So if I don't want to let it go, then someone might want to buy it.
Well, I suppose so, I mean, I think, yeah, in a way, it's if we love it this much, someone's going to love it this much.
Yeah, you're not going to buy tat and sell it as... No. exactly.
And even now, like people, like, what we do, because we do consignment in the Virgin Islands, that's part of what we do. And, sometimes people do bring things in and, they're nice, but it's not stuff that we want to sell, and it's like, we've got to keep sticking to the core of what, we want our
Yeah.
image to be and what we want to present to the world and we want to be known for,
So I had a mooch on your website, as I always try and do. And like it says about you having this love of the imperfect when it comes to designs. Like, have you got a moment where an imperfect, like what would be classed as an imperfection or maybe doesn't fit as much, actually elevated the final result or the final look of something because of what you've looked for or the way that you look at things?
Yeah, so like I was trying to think of that, like what is it? What is it that we did? We did so many things. I mean, but one thing that I can say is, like, we had the DeWitt in Oak Hill in the Catskills, and we had one room that we turned into what we ended up calling the Great Room, but it was just covered in plywood. And so we wanted to, put beautiful floors down. And so we went out, we found barnwood, we had it milled, but it was still like, not really great. And there were pieces, smaller pieces. And so, we literally sat on the floor, the two of us, and like these tiny pieces of wood, strips of wood, we'd fit them in. And sometimes it was a different wood than the next wood. And we just put this whole floor together. And then each piece of wood, we'd like hand mix the stain to like make the stain kind of look slightly, like, so all blended. And, I mean, it was a labor of love, and we did it. And so the floor was a little bit patchworky, and, it was definitely not, like, some pieces of wood were much wider than others, and it was just, but you know what? Everyone would walk into that room and go, oh my God, look at those floors. And so,
It just worked.
It worked. Yeah. We were very proud of it. We were very proud of everything we did there, because basically that place was an empty shell and we just made it happen, by ourselves.
Yeah. So take that for example, right? You've sort of come across that. You sat on the floor and you're putting things together. When you walk into a space, or Dorothy walks into a space, what's the first thing that tells you how to transform it?
So I think, I think this is something I've always done, is like, walking into a room, I automatically see things that could be made better with the things that they've got. I don't ever, and that's what French and Scouser is about. It's about trying to, like, we tend to use what people have. So, like, walking into a room, it can be like, oh, you know what, this is lovely, but what if we just moved this over there and change the color and change the light, like the way that the light comes into the room, because that can be done just by changing the curtains, or, just, and so I think what we tend to do, again, is more just about using what people have, augmenting it sometimes with things if that's in their budget. But, like, I don't really like I want people to have a place that they love and everything means something to them, and so I never want to change out something and just put brand new things in. I like to use what they've got, even if, like, it's like, I mean, I advise people to, like, take their dad's toolbox, and, a friend of mine, like, lost her dad, and she has it at his toolbox, and it was like, don't just leave the tools in the box. What can we do with them? Make them into some kind of decor, let's use them in the house so that your dad is here, and that's kind of the way it is. I think, for the way that the two of us work, is we want things to feel good.
That's
not
cool.
Just look good.
Yeah, that's cool. And it means something to the person then. It makes them feel more comfortable, doesn't it, then, in their own space? Yeah. Even more so. So you do source pieces from all over the world. So you get them from everywhere. How do you decide what's worth shipping? Is it literally just, well, I fancy that, so let's get it over?
Well, I think it's a little bit of what we've just talked about, which is like, everything needs to be special, like, it's got to have a story. Like, we'll never just go, like, we were in Paris a few years ago, and we were in the flea markets, and, we wouldn't just pick something up and say, oh, that'll do. It's like, oh, this has got to, you know, this is beautiful, and what's the story, and we ask about it. And you know, I think it's just always got to have a story.
Has there been any like, what's the most mental, like, unusual thing that you've brought back for yourself or someone?
Well, I went to Cote d'Ivoire, and that was in another iteration. That was when I was working for an emerging markets newspaper. And you know, we were traveling around in Cote d'Ivoire, and I was kind of went to this village, and they was, you know, you'd buy little tchotchkes along the way, but like this village, they had this amazing carved chair, you know, the chairs that kind of slot into each other. And, you know,
Yeah.
basically they were chairs that like the village would sit around a fire every night. They would sit around, and the chief and would tell stories, and they would all tell stories. And that was how they ended their day. And they asked me if I'd be interested in buying this chair. And it was the chief's chair. And they said every year they sell it, and it, you know, it's like a fundraiser for the village. And then someone carves a new one, and then the chief, you know, sits in that for the next year, and then it all happens all over again. And so I bought it, and it's the Mask of Toma. It's Toma, and I hope to God it's a true story. You know, I like to think it's a true story, and I bought it back. I shipped it back in a container for my mum, and it was in her living room, and you know, until she died. And now it's in St. Thomas in our living room.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So listen, I will not hear a bad word said about that story. So as far as I'm concerned, it's true.
It is true. I believe
Of
it.
course it's true. Why would we even question it? I have no idea what you're talking about. Hey, so just out of curiosity, right, this whole with the shipping stuff, did you learn any of that stuff from Speak, like the airport?
I knew the lingo, but not
Right,
really.
okay. No, but I mean, again, though, like, I wouldn't know the first thing to do if I went to the west of Africa and tried to get a chair home. I wouldn't know what to do. Be trying to
Well, you
check
know,
it
like,
in.
we had like good contacts. I mean, I worked for you know, I had a printer. I didn't work for a printer. You know, it was our printer for the newspaper, and you know, and he knew people, and so you know, you just do it. But it's always good to know the lingo, you know, so they think that you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that definitely helps you, doesn't it? Has there ever been a trip where it's gone completely wrong or off script? Like, you've gone to a place thinking you're going to go and do something, either you found yourself in a mad spot or something just completely daft has happened on one of your trips.
Oh God, on one
Have
of
you
my
ever got
trips.
lost? Like, you know, you go places, you're trying to find a flea market, you just get completely lost, or...
Yeah, I can't really think of any of that. You know, that was a question you'd asked before. Um, I couldn't really think of anything crazy, like especially in my more recent years. You know, I've had mad situations when I was working with emerging markets where, you know, I think, oh God, thank God my mum doesn't know I'm here right now. She'd have a heart attack because, you know, like standing in the middle of like, you know, basically it was like just empty space, like out of the printer, waiting for a taxi at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the morning by myself in the dark. You know, things like that were crazy, but you know,
That's
I've had
crazy enough.
I've probably got so many crazy stories. I can't even pick one.
You probably wake up in the middle of the night going, ah, shit, I should have told him that one. That was
I
meant.
know. Yeah, I'll be calling you tomorrow.
I get a text. I'll try and fit it in somehow into the episode. Do you ever get people that come to you, clients will come to you? Say someone walks into the store on the island, or they see you they're online and they come across French and Scouser, and they're unsure of their style. Like, what's your process then to help them discover it? Is it like what you said before about finding out what's close to them and finding out what makes them tick? Is that kind of what you do? Is that your process for new customers?
Yeah, that's pretty much it, really. You know, like I always, you know, when we had the hotel, when we had the DeWitt, basically what we did when we had that place is French and Scouser furnished the entire DeWitt, and everything was for sale. And you know, so because of that, we had like, you know, primitive antiques with, you know, mid-century modern, and you know, all kinds of stuff. And people would walk in and go, oh my God, I'd never think to put that stuff together. And I think I like to teach people that like nothing needs to match, you know, like, oh, I can't have that picture because, you know, that painting doesn't match my colors. And it's like, nothing should match. You should just feel it. You should love it. And I think that's really what, you know, we tell people here, you know, it's like, it's got to sing to you. It's got to feel right.
Yeah, no, that's fair. How many times have you found something and you're just like, I'm keeping it, I'm having it, it's not going on sale at all?
Oh God, pretty much every time I've got something here. I've got so many things here, and I'm like, well, should we put that up for sale? Should we just buy it? Like there's consignment things that come in. We're like, maybe we should just buy it from them just directly and we'll take it. But no, you know what? Like, I mean, I love the fact that like, with the business that I'm in, we have these gorgeous things. We get to decorate with them. We get to do things, merchandise the store. It looks lovely. And someone takes it and then we get to do it all over again. So, there are some things probably that we'll keep, I'll keep or Dorothea will keep. But mostly, it's like, oh God, like I just like to see it go into someone who loves it.
Yeah. That's fair though, isn't it? I mean, oh God, there'd be so much, if I worked in your business, or there'd be so much tat lying around in our house. It'd just be, it's bad enough now. Like Kelly will go to the flea markets and she'll go bananas. Thank God she doesn't buy big furniture, but there's all sorts of nonsense in our gaff.
Hey, listen, this is how it all happened with me.
Oh
Kelly
God.
ends
Hey, listen.
having a furniture store.
I mean, we'll be moving upstate and get a furniture store in no time, yeah. So with this, right? So with the high energy and the career that you've had to this point, how do you stay grounded and recharged day to day?
That's a hard one.
Is it a phone call back home? Is it a conversation with one of your friends in New York? Is it something? Is it a trip that you'll take? Is it something that makes you think, you know what, just, keeps you where you are, gets you back on track? Or you are where you are for the reason that it allows you to be relaxed?
I think I'm just, I suppose when I really think about that, I feel like this is orchestrated somewhere else. I've got nothing to do with it, like I just feel like really fortunate, I can't believe that, this girl from Halewood who didn't go to college and, just has done all this and has met all these amazing people and worked with all these amazing people and has had all these opportunities. I just feel really lucky.
What have you learned about yourself in the time that you've spent since 81 when you first moved to the US properly? What have you learned about yourself in all these years away from England?
I think I've learned, like when I first came to America, I was 17. So like I came in, I was illegal. I couldn't go to college because I was illegal. And everyone went to college and asked me, where'd you go to school? I'm like, I didn't go to school. I felt like an idiot, and so what I've learned about myself is that I work hard and I have a good attitude and I'll do whatever needs to be done. And I think that's really helped me along the way, and that I'm actually not as dumb as I think I am. I think, we all beat ourselves up all the time. And when it comes down to it, like I actually have been able to do things I never thought I could do.
Yeah.
And, being like, say, when I was younger, I used to look at like the mastheads of magazines, fashion magazines. And I'd think to myself, I think all of those people were posh and they were all, smart and they were all from London, obviously. And so, I never thought that I could do any of that. And then all of a sudden I saw my name on these mastheads, and it was just like, oh my God, I can't believe that this has happened. I remember being at a party once with Glenda Bailey, who was the editor-in-chief of Harper's Bazaar, and she was from somewhere up north. And the two of us were having a drink at the bar. And, she's like a bigwig in the publishing field. And she and I connected because we were both from the north, and we both definitely, had those prejudices from like, others because we had the northern accent. And she just looked at me, she goes, can you believe this? And all these people think that we're really smart and posh. And, and she's like, and look at where we are, look at what we're doing. And, I mean, granted, she was at a much higher level than me, but we both laughed at it because it was like, yeah, we did this,
Yeah,
we didn't need this.
It's cool. They don't need to know the truth. It's fine. But it is funny perception, isn't it? It's so funny. Like people are savage with that sort of thing. Like,
oh God.
Here's one for you then. So Scouser is such a proud title, I think. Like, I'm proud of the fact that my family's from Liverpool, albeit I'm from Wigan. But what's the essence of being a Scouser that still shows up in your work today and your life today? And how do you think that's shaped your creativity and resilience?
I would say, like humor, sense of humor. I think the ability to laugh at myself or laugh at the situation, not to take myself too seriously. And that means also like the things that I do, the way I design a room. I often do things that are kind of weird and quirky. But, I mean, I love being a Scouser. I'm proud of being a Scouser. And I love the fact that my business is called French and Scouser, and the people in the Virgin Islands are starting to know what a Scouser is. And it's great, and it's like, I think, coming from Liverpool, it was such a tough area to live in. And, there was a lot of sarcasm and a lot of tough love, but I've learned from that. And, also just like the warmth of Liverpool. And I feel like that stayed with me forever, and the music. I mean, for me, like music is everything. And, I have music around me all the time. And, and when I tell people, like people comment on that all the time, that I sing all the time or I'm doing something musical. And I said, like coming from Liverpool, it's just inherent. It's something like, you're at a family party, end up singing. You go to a pub, people start singing. And I feel like that has kind of stayed with me throughout my life. And I'm grateful for being a Scouser because of that.
That's good. That's a good answer, isn't it? And you're never more than a mile away from one either. So you're always going to get that level of humor or sarcasm or warmth as well.
I know. Well, you know what? I met someone last week, some girl who lives here. She said to me, she came in, she's like, my mum's from Liverpool. And I said, really? And so she said, I'll bring her in one of these days. Anyway, she brought her in. And I thought, she's from Liverpool. She's probably got an American accent or, oh my God, she walked in. She sounded like everyone of my mum's generation, and I started to cry. And I was like, can I hug you? Because it was just like, oh, I feel like I'm home. It was lovely. And so it was great to kind of, I'm never far from a
nice. I'm telling you, I will die on a sword for that one. You're never more than a mile away from one, I'm telling you. If you could go back, last question for you. If you could go back and give yourself 17-year-old, leaving a job at Speak Airport, leaving poor Robbie behind, what's
poor Robbie's doing great.
I'm sure poor Robbie is fine. All right. Well in the rear view mirror. But one piece of advice before all this journey began, what would it be?
Let's see. I would say not to be so hard on myself and to believe in myself a bit more. I'd probably, I think that would be it, like that. All the things that I thought were important, all this perfectionism that I needed to have, I ended up making it work anyway, and just having faith in me. But I never had that, before, I just always, like beat myself up and like just, let's see. Yeah, I think it's more about like feeling like believing in me more than I did when I first came over, all the experiences that I've told you about, like just, the fact that I've done certain things. I mean, I danced with James, like how cool is that? Like I've done things that that I never thought I'd do, and I never believed I could, never believed I was good enough because people didn't really believe that Scousers were good enough, but they are. We are.
They definitely are. Diane, thank you so much. That was brilliant. I really enjoyed talking to you. I'm glad we got it in as well. But I do appreciate it. Thanks for the time today. I know you've been faffing running around, getting a load of cupboards in and boxing yourself in your own shop.
Yeah.
If you wouldn't mind, I always do a couple of quick fire questions to finish up.
Okay.
And then, all right. Best flea market in the world?
In Paris.
Ooh. Whereabouts is it?
Oh God, I'd have to ask my friend Dorothea.
Oh God. I thought you knew. I love Paris. It's brilliant.
You know what? Like, I mean, there's so many, and I'm terrible with the destination. You know what? It's not the one that everyone knows. It's another one that we went to, and it was fantastic. It was under a bridge. That's all I can remember.
That's good to know. There's not many of them in Paris, so it'll be all right. We'll find it. First thing you always look for when you go back to Liverpool?
A chop suey roll.
Oh God, yeah. That's all right, isn't it? That caught me off guard, that.
I always go home and I'm like, I want to go to the local chippy tonight. And they're all like, we're going to make dinner. I'm like, no, I want chippy food. I want mushy peas, chips. I want a side of curry, and I want black beans and shrimp. That's what I want. And then meat chop suey roll. And then I end up eating like a bite out of each. But, I just want it all.
It's all there, yeah, exactly. All right, who would play you in a movie?
If she was alive, Diane Dawes.
Okay. What's the favourite, the best piece you've ever come across? Is the one?
Best piece I've ever come across. I would say the most important piece I've ever come across is the one that started us on French and Scouser. And that was like me in an auction house seeing this chandelier that was like maybe, a story high, like it was so big. And it looked like it probably been in a train station or something. And I'm like, oh my God, I want to buy this, but I can't. What am I going to do with it, And it's kind of like, it was the catalyst for me to want to start a business. So that was it.
That's a good answer, that as well. Should have asked you that in the middle of everything. Are you red or a blue?
I'm a little bit of both. Because you know what? I grew up blue because of my granddad and all of our family. And then I met a fella in New York and we started going out with each other, and he was a massive, Liverpool fan. And so I became more of a Liverpool fan. But I'm a little bit of both, depends on who I'm with.
Depends on who you're with. Oh, God. Is the one place you'd still love to visit?
Oh, God, there's so many places. India.
And the last question, how's your French?
Oh, it's bloody awful.
Del Boy French.
It's terrible. It's terrible. I listen to my friend on the phone with his sister all the time, and I'm like, okay, all I can hear is bisou, bisou, and that's kisses. That's all I know.
Good enough. I'll get you somewhere in a conversation at least, won't it, Diane?
Maybe I'll get lucky.
You never know. Oh, Diane, thanks so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. Good story.
It was lovely. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you or someone you know has a story to share, we'd love to hear from you. Reach out to us via our socials or visit www.crossingthepondpodcast.com to get in touch. Please be sure to subscribe, like, or leave a comment if you can. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Across Pond Podcasting.